Hi everyone, I'm Sky. I work for the Air Lakes Caribou Society, and we're starting this live stream today to celebrate World Caribou Day. We're up at the maternity pen near Nakusp, BC right now, so we will show you in a little while. There's a couple of caribou around hanging out. We've got our friend here, Aaron Reed. He works for the Ministry of Waterland and Resource Stewardship as a wildlife biologist. And he's going to talk a little bit about caribou and the landscape in the Central Selkirks.
Hi everyone, nice to meet you all.
So the theme for World Caribou Day that the Caribou Conservation Alliance created is kind of about climate change in caribou and changes to the landscape that have impacted caribou. So Aaron here is a great supporter of the ALCS in local recovery efforts through the BC Caribou Recovery Program and through the ministry. So have there been changes to the landscape, and have they impacted the Central Selkirk herd of caribou?
Absolutely, there has been changes to the landscape. I think that's the primary reason why in the southern BC anyway, we are in the state that we're in with so much effort going to recover the herds that we have remaining. Mm-hmm. So it really depends on how far back you want to look, but in this, I always tell people that in this area, the temperate rainforest, the mountains, interior mountains of BC, it was a caribou dominated landscape. They were the dominant ungulate in this area. Other species like elk, white-tailed deer, moose were almost non-existent. So it was a very different landscape completely. Mm-hmm. And, over the century, there's been dramatic changes here. Everyone sees them every day, whether it be highways in the valley bottoms, reservoirs. In this area, that's the Arrow Lakes here is a reservoir. So, we've definitely changed the landscape in some pretty dramatic ways. Agriculture in the valley bottoms, there's also been some big changes. All of the residential areas building up, and then some of the more less noticeable things are in the mountains with all the logging roads and harvesting that's been going on over the decades, especially in the 80s and 90s. We pushed our reach far into the mountains, into caribou habitat, and definitely dramatically changed the landscape.
Have the caribou adapted to these changes at all, or have you observed behavior changes in them?
I would say we've seen behavior changes, but I'd be hesitant to call that adapting. Mm-hmm. I think it takes tens of thousands of years for caribou to evolve or an animal or species to evolve to a new environment, right? So, but we've seen behavioral changes. These mountain caribou, they winter up high, right up on top of the mountain, on top of the snowpack, eating lichen, and typically they migrate twice a year. They'll head down in the spring to take advantage of green up, and then they'll go right back up into the mountains again to calve. And then typically we'll also see another migration in the fall before snow, and allowing the snowpack to build up and firm up before they head back up. So with all the development in the valley bottoms, we've certainly in the southern mountains seen less of that migration activity, probably most likely an avoidance of what they find in the valley bottom, mm-hmm. whether it be fragmentation, road disturbance, predators. Yeah, so those are the measurable things that we've seen. But as far as adaptation, mm-hmm. that's a slow process.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. And I guess as you mentioned before, the snowpack too has a lot to do with the behavior changes. Like in the last couple of years, I think locals anyways have observed that the snowpack in the Central Selkirks has been below average. Have you seen changes as a result of that?
Well, again, those changes have only been fairly recent, right? Mm-hmm. So as far as managing caribou goes, we see it's when we have variable snowpacks or low snowpacks up high, it makes it very difficult to actually count caribou. as a manager, we fly in helicopters in late March at the peak snowpack, hoping the idea there is that the sightability of the animals is really high because they're standing out in the open, and they're accessing lichens that they can only reach at the high peak snowpack. So for us, that's challenging when you have really low snowpacks because they're not up high. They can't reach the lichens there. So they're more in the timber, a little bit lower in elevation. So and we definitely notice that on the low snowpack years. They're just virtually, it can be really difficult, almost impossible to get a good count or a census on population. So that impacts us. It's not really what you're getting at with that question. But I think in the bigger picture, like when you have low snowpack years, perhaps that increases drought conditions, summer forest fire hazards, things like that. And I think those are the factors that are going to have more impact on caribou habitat over time.
And their elevation migration as well, right? A little bit to do with that, you think, or?
Yeah, as far as the timing goes, for sure. Yeah, that would definitely have and could have an influence. We've discussed it as biologists, but again, I don't think there's been a lot of research specific to that done. But
maybe in the coming years, if it's more of a trend.
Yeah, it definitely.
Speaking of habitat fragmentation, and I think you touched on a lot of the human factors. My next question was, what role do humans play in habitat fragmentation? But maybe is.
I mean that's the biggest question, right? Like what we've done to the to core caribou habitat, where caribou spend the majority of their life, is so dramatic that it's caused driven all the declines that we've seen across the mountain caribou habitat, right? So it's everything. It's not just the fragmentation and the removal of trees, right? From that standpoint, it's about those changes have driven changes in the species dynamic, right? So now we have moose that can overwinter because they have access to food all winter long on those mid to lower slopes. Where in these ecosystems, the interior cedar hemlock or the SSF, the Engelmann spruce, like that forest type, it was very difficult for moose to survive a winter without opening up the canopy and growing shrubs, right? So we've done a really good job at that. We've made openings in forests that were once high crown closure, very low shrub, really difficult for elk and moose to survive, right? So we've completely changed the landscape and allowed those alternate prey species to become quite high densities. And of course with them comes their predators, right? The wolves and cougars primarily. So that whole alternate prey influence really drove the predation rates on these mountain caribou, and we saw pretty steep declines in the late 90s, early 2000s that we just have not recovered from. Like we're talking about 80% plus declines in this population alone. So from that standpoint, our influence has been dramatic. But there's also the other factors, right? Recreation and disturbance from us being up in the mountains in the winter, which we are now doing at levels that we've never seen before.
Yeah. For those of you just joining, just so you know, this is the Air Lakes Caribou Society, and we are trying to recover the herd of Central Selkirk caribou in the range near Nakusp, BC. So thanks for joining. And we've got Aaron Reed here, who's the wildlife biologist with the Ministry of Waterland and Resource Stewardship. So in terms of management strategies, because it's hard to manage for multiple species, or almost impossible maybe, what are some of the management strategies for human and caribou coexistence? Or is that possible?
It's challenging. It is. The difficult part is that, caribou are a landscape species. They require huge tracts of land, and they don't mix well with these other animals and these other influences from predators. It's really tough to have coexistence, right? So There's certain things that we've done when we manage recreation with, say, snowmobiling or, snowmobile closures and trying to create separation between these activities. It can be done, but it's challenging. For to have sustainable populations, caribou really need to be left alone.
So something as for lack of a better term, invasive as a maternity pen, although a necessary step, but a little bit of a last-ditch effort to recover a population.
Totally. I mean, this maternity pen is a last step effort. It's an emergency conservation measure that action that's been implemented specifically to turn this herd around from extirpation, meaning like local extinction, right? So yeah, they are invasive, but when they're done well, and this pen is actually doing really well, and it's achieving its metrics of calf survival, and but there's a lot of other factors influencing success, right? So.
And then last question for you, Aaron. As members of the public, what can they do to help mitigate caribou disturbance if they want to get involved?
The education piece is always huge, right? The more you understand, the more willing you are to accept caribou recovery actions, which sometimes a lot of the times touch all of us, right? Whether it be from economy or recreation, our weekends, right? So, but having these animals where they should be, where they've been for thousands and thousands and thousands of years is really important. So, just being aware of the things that have been done to keep them here and respecting those regulations in some cases, but just educating yourself and the people around you about their challenges.
That's great. Thanks for answering our questions. If anybody has any questions that they would like answered either by Aaron or some of the techs that are here, we've got some shepherds that hang out up at the Caribou maternity pen. Throw them in the comment box and we will try and answer them. I'm going to flip the camera around and show you. So this is our setting for some context. This is the Central Selkirk Caribou maternity pen. It's right near Nakusp, BC. Just up the slope from the Nakusp Hot Springs, if you've ever been in that area. So the maternity pen, it was created in 2021 as a response to the declining caribou herd in this area. So it's one of the many recovery strategies for this herd. The maternity pen is a place where mature cows can finish out their pregnancies and then birth their calves. So far this year, out of the 10 cows that we captured in March and have in the maternity pen, we discovered that 8 of them were pregnant, and I believe 5 of them have calved now. So we released a little bit of information earlier this week about the different calves that are appearing, and they're very cute. I don't see any right now, but we're standing in the blind that, like I showed you, overlooks the feeding area. So this is the best spot to sort of watch for them, and they kind of come and go as the day moves on. They usually sleep down below us here. There's a bit of a ridge that drops down to the right here, and the troughs here is the feeding area, like I said. So they receive pellet feed every day from our shepherds, and they receive a bit of lichen. They have their water changed every day. There's a snow pile you can not really see over there that keeps them cool. And there's also misters we set up when it gets really warm here. What else about the maternity pen? It's made of this black fabric. So I will head outside actually and show you a little bit more. This is our team. Hide. This is the fence. You can kind of see there. There's black geotextile fabric that's 13 feet high. How high is the fence?
11 feet.
11 feet, somewhere in there. There's the snow pile as well, you can see. So this is the outside of the maternity pen, and we've got an observation blind that looks over top of the fence. Like this. A question here, are there any ALCS fundraising events or auctions coming up soon that aim to help support the pen, etc.? That's a great question. None upcoming right now that I can think of. We do have a GoFundMe that's always open, and you're welcome to donate there. I think the link is in our bio in Instagram. We did just complete a fundraising event where you could purchase locally made hoodies. That's something that we might look at doing again in the future. Yeah, but thanks for your support. So those are ways that you can support the maternity pen. The GoFundMe goes towards society operational costs and also maternity penning costs, such as feed and things like that, paying our shepherds, all of those things. Do you see any caribou out there? No? Yeah, they might have all disappeared for now. It's kind of a muggy day here today, but you can see the pen is built around what really emulates their natural habitat. It's mature cedar hemlock stand, and it's been historically logged, especially in this feeding zone area, so it's spaced nicely and they can move around quite easily.
So they have more browse material because they've eaten it all down in the pen.
Yeah,
That's what all those are.
that's a good point. There's branches in the pen there. They like deciduous things to munch on, and grasses and shrubs, lichen.
And we have salt blocks for them.
Yeah, the little blue salt blocks you can kind of see. There's a scale over there as well that we hope that they step on to get their weights that we track. And the fence goes all the way around, so the perimeter of the fence is about 1.2 kilometers, and the inside area of the pen is 6.5 hectares, so it's quite large. There's 11 animals in there right now. They're all hiding, unfortunately, but there's 10 cows and then one female yearling that was born last year in the pen. Erin, do you want to talk a little bit about the calves that have been born so far, or maybe one of our shepherds? Logan, do you want to talk about the calves born so far?
Sure, yeah, sorry, I missed the question.
I just wanted to let people know, so out of the 10 calves, how many have given birth so far this year?
5 so far. We've done 4 calf exams so far, and we have 1 to do tomorrow. So the last one we're still unsure if it's a boy or a girl, but we have 4 calves that we've identified so far, and then 3 more to go.
And what did the sex end up being for those calves that have been born so far?
We have 3 males and a female so far.
So hoping for more females.
Hoping for more females, that's right.
Yeah. As shepherds up at the pen, what's your favorite part of the day up here?
Right now, it's from like 7 to 8 p.m. because that's when the temperature drops a little bit and the calves come up with their mums and they get a little frisky and they're learning to play, which just helps them nurture their instincts and grow strong muscles and everything. So you get to see the calves starting to interact with each other and run around and stuff, and it's always very exciting.
Nice.
Logan.
Yeah, I mean, honestly, any time that you get to spend watching the caribou, specifically the calves, is just really special. And yeah, again, watching them figure it all out for the first time, and as they start to play, as they start to figure out even walking on the scale for the first time, all these new experiences for them, or you'll see them testing out browse and following their mom and figuring out to try different foods, and yeah, just seeing all that kind of unfold in front of you is really cool and really special to be a part of.
Testing out their gangly legs.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah. Nice. If there's any more questions from the audience, throw them in the comment box down below. We'll answer the questions as best as we can. Like I said, we're keeping an eye out for caribou, but I don't see any up here near the observation blind yet. Do all the caribou stay in the pen year-round? That's a great question. They do not, actually. So we have the caribou in the maternity pen from March to about July, mid-July. We only capture females, ideally, unless it's a male calf that would be left in the wild by himself. But we capture in late March with specialized wildlife techs and support from different wildlife veterinarians and the ministry. And we bring them into the maternity pen with lots of different, about 40 different people are part of the different capture teams. So they finish out their pregnancy and then start calving in late May to early June. So then by mid-July, ideally the calves are about 6 weeks old and we can release everybody, where we open the fence and they run right out into their natural habitat again, which is right here in the Kuskanax drainage. So it's really nice habitat for them. Next question, how do you keep from interbreeding? Oh, great question. So far we haven't observed that issue or any birth defects in the maternity pen as a result of interbreeding. It is a consideration for how small the population is, and as more male calves are born, like we mentioned before, we're hoping for more female calves so that they can help to support the population. Some of the management strategies for that would be perhaps translocation from other herds in the future. So far we're running with the animals that we have in this Central Selkirk herd, and yeah, it could be a future consideration. Anything else on that?
Something we're concerned about, and I'm hoping to go back and do a master's thesis on that topic, on looking at the genetic diversity of this herd and whether we need to start looking at bringing in new individuals to get genetic diversity up, essentially. So yeah, it's a consideration that we're looking at.
Really cool. Yeah. Anything else from the registered professional biologist? Good. I'm just the communications person, so I can talk, but yeah. Another one. Do you guys do some DNA testing in the caribou? Who wants? Aaron, do you want to answer that?
We take blood samples every time we capture the adult females, but they go to the ministry and they kind of just go into a database for now, I think. And there are some people researching caribou genetics, but we haven't seen any results from that. So that's kind of what I think Sam is hoping to look into.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. There's ongoing studies with partners of the pen that are looking at microbiome work. I don't want to share too much of that, but yeah, definitely it's an interest. It's being looked at.
With their DNA and different digestive tract considerations.
Yeah. My understanding is looking at the connection between mums and calves and how the microbiome changes over pregnancy and early life.
Cool. Any other questions from the audience? We're still looking out for caribou, but I haven't seen any yet. Just before we started our live stream, we saw some, but they might have been scared away with some of the talking. There's a few of us here today. There's always the option to look on our social media later. There's lots of great videos of the calves and photos. We have different trail cameras that are stationed throughout the pen that give us good footage of them on their different migration routes and even some calving footage. So that's exciting to see. And a little bit of history of the Air Lakes Caribou Society. So it was formed in 2019 as a response for recovering the Central Selkirk herd. It's basically a group of local industry representatives. There's board members from the forestry industry and hunting and trapping, recreation, including ATVs and trails and snowmobiling and heli-skiing and all sorts of different operations that are around Nakusp. So they all contribute as representatives of those organizations, and in an effort to have a local voice in the decision making around the land use and recovery efforts for this Central Selkirk herd. So it's nice to have that local support, and then we have lots of provincial support and First Nations support, and then even national and international, such as the Caribou Conservation Alliance and many other great partners in funding and in-kind work. Question, what's the population growth goal, and how are you guys tracking it since they're released every year?
The population goal at this point is to just have a stable or increasing population.
Yeah.
And we're tracking it by having all of the adult females collared. So we get a signal from their collar if there's a mortality, and we do a census flight, or the province does a census flight every March. And so at that point the calves are 10 months old, and we determine calf recruitment to the population, so survival to 10 months old at that point. And that's kind of our success metric for calf survival and contributions to the herd population annually. Ideally, calf recruitment, or calves reaching 10 months of age, would be 12 to 16% of the population. Prior to maternity penning, it was only 7%, which is like one calf per year. So we have increased that. I know after 2023 it was 24%, so that's great. Adult female survival is still kind of low because we've had some mortalities each year due to predation and one complication in the pen. So we're still trying to increase our adult female survival so that we can support that growing population. And I mean, historically this herd used to be over 200 animals, so it's going to take a long time to get back to that point. So as long as we can have an increasing herd, we'd be happy.
Yeah, and just for some context, the last census that was done in 2023 had 25 animals observed in the herd, is that right?
Yeah.
The 2025 census hasn't been released yet, is that right?
Yeah.
Yeah. So.
But we did see less animals. So that could be for many reasons. Like, we think that their range use maybe changed a little bit, and we missed some. But we did have good sightability of the adult females and of the calves, so that was good. I think we saw 3 out of the 5 calves we released last year. Pretty sure.
Nice. Yeah, so last year's calves, there was 5 calves, you said, right? Or, right? Yeah, 5 calves. It's hard to keep track of how many sometimes. Yeah.
Had 6 pregnant females. 1 had a stillborn calf, and then we had 5 calves born, and only 1 was a female.
Right, and that female's in the pen this year as the yearling, yeah. So that's nice to see too, is that some of the calves born in the pen in previous years have started having pregnancies, and 2 of them, have they both calved already this year, or one of them has so far?
2 of them have, and there's a 3rd one that's still yet to calve.
Nice, yeah. So that's great to see that sort of full circle effect. Question from Beth, how many males are out in the mountains there?
There's hopefully at least 10, but that's who we missed during our census, was a bunch of the males that we thought would be there because we've had so many male calves. So yeah, we know we have 10 adult females and our 1 yearling female, and given what we have seen in the population in the past, hopefully there's still 10 to 12 males out there.
Mm-hmm. And it's challenging to know because we don't collar the males, we only collar the females.
Yeah, and they don't always spend time together. Like during the census in March, usually they're in groups, but we do see them on their own sometimes. And yeah, because they aren't always with a collared female, then we don't know exactly where they are. And the census is meant to be blind anyway, so you're not supposed to check the collars for a few weeks prior so that you aren't biasing your census. But yeah, there is still a possibility of missing animals, and with a population of this size, if you miss 1 animal, it can really impact your numbers for your census.
Mm-hmm. Great. Any other questions from the audience? Got a few people here I see. That's awesome. Thanks for joining our celebration. I'm looking out for caribou in the maternity pen. I don't see any close by. They might be hiding where it's a little cooler in the trees. but this is the maternity pen where they hang out. That's the snow pile there that they cover in cedar mulch, so it stays for the majority of the penning season. Really helps with cooling them down when it gets warmer. Another question, how do you find the animals during census? How do you find the animals during census, Erin?
We're flying around in a helicopter, and there's a predetermined survey route that they fly every single year so that it's all the same. And you pretty much fly up the one side of the drainage and down the next side, and you go up and down every drainage within their herd range. And you have one person in the front and two people in the back looking out the windows, and you're just looking for tracks mostly. And then once you find some fresh tracks, then you kind of narrow it down until you find the animals, and then you take a lot of photos, and then you can determine who you're looking at once you get back into the office. So yeah, it's a lot. You have to have a really good day, good sightability, and hopefully some fresher snow to get good tracks in.
And the area that you census, is it mostly between Nakusp and Trout Lake for those people who know it geographically?
Yeah, it's from like the Wilson Creek drainage, which is just a little bit east of Nakusp, up north to like Silhouette, not quite to Galena Bay, and then all the way across to Trout Lake and Lake Creek, which is just west of the Duncan River drainage.
Nice.
They used to extend up the Duncan, but they haven't been seen there in quite a few years, so that's become, it got dropped from the survey.
Mm-hmm. Another question here, are there any translocation plans in the work? Any genetic work being done? I think this person's just joining. We touched on it earlier, but if Sam has a good synopsis of...
No translocations currently planned. Everyone wants caribou these days, so... but yeah, in terms of genetics, always concerned with bottleneck when you get a small population like this. So hopefully in the next couple of years, we'll be looking at the genetic diversity of this herd and whether or not we require more individuals to keep the genetic diversity at a level that's sustainable for this population.
Nice.
Yeah.
Thanks. We've got our calf Zero here as our fun little mascot. Believe it or not, our wildlife veterinarian Amelie crocheted this in her many free time hours, so it's pretty incredible. Good job, Amelie.
Color and ear tag and everything.
Right now, because there's calving going on, we do have our wildlife vet Amelie, and also a wildlife tech from the Columbus Zoo that helps her out. His name's Dan, so we're grateful to have them around for calving in case there's any complications, and then also for calf capture. So something that we maybe didn't touch on that you guys could talk about is calf capture, like what happens after a calf is born.
So once we watch for the pregnancy signs to kind of escalate, and when they start getting to a certain point, the cow will disappear eventually, and at that point we go in and we'll have a locate to see that there is a calf there. And we use the telemetry gear to locate the cow, and just from a distance we'll get eyes on the calf, and as soon as we've just confirmed that it's there and they're okay and things are good, we'll leave it alone. We'll give them lots of space, and then the following day, within that kind of 24-hour window for the calf, then we'll go in and we'll do our calf exam, which again is we follow it in with the telemetry gear, and we have our team. We're all gloved and masked and wearing coveralls so that we're sanitary. And then we locate the animal, and once we have eyes on the calf, we'll chase it, catch it, and once we have it, we process it really quickly in a matter of minutes, and we sex it, give it an ear tag, and check a few health samples, hair sample, and a fecal, and a few swabs. And then we send them on their way, and we time how long it takes for mom to come back and find the calf. and then we're hands off other than that.
So the caribou, other than that, are not necessarily handled or interacted with in the pen.
No, it's very minimal. Yeah. Yeah, very minimal and only for as needed.
Sam, can you tell me about some of the duties as a shepherd and what you guys do every day?
Yeah, so a day typically starts by coming up, checking that our electric fence is running, and then you come up and try to get eyes on all the caribou, whether that's because they're in the feeding area or because they're on the cameras. After that, we go in and we do a big old poop scoop in the common feeding and bedding areas. And that's just to reduce like parasite load in the pen and keep things cleanly. Then we'll go in and feed. We have a custom mix of pellets that was made specifically for these caribou. So they get fed that and lichen and this time of year fresh browse as well. So typically like willow or alder, cottonwood. After we've fed, usually the caribou know to come up, and if we haven't seen them already, then we do another count. And we're looking for making sure everyone's like healthy, eating properly, checking like behavioral signs, like if you start noticing that one's like isolating a bit more, they might be getting ready to calf. So just like having a really good understanding of like each individual's behavior is really helpful for knowing when that behavior changes. They'll do a walk around the perimeter of the pen, basically checking to make sure that the geocloth doesn't have any holes, that the electric fence is running the whole way around, also checking for any signs of predators. We'll do another evening feed and another visual check on the caribou, so we want to make sure we have eyes on each animal at least twice a day. And yeah, a lot of that is just watching the animals, making sure that they're all doing okay.
Nice.
Yeah.
Sounds like an interesting job.
It's the best job in the world.
That's pretty cool. Do we see any caribou? No. They're all hiding. Sorry about that, everyone. Another question. What kind of training do you guys need to have to be handlers? Maybe if you want to just share a bit of your background and how you came to help out the Caribou Society.
A very indirect path, but I have a fish and wildlife background, and I've been doing wildlife tech field work for the last 5-6 years, and have worked with a bunch of species kind of across the board.
I heard that too, yeah.
We've got one.
One? Oh, I heard
Number 14, she's one of the pregnant ones.
Nice. Can you be a little more quiet now so she doesn't get scared away? She's just behind that cedar tree. Can barely see her. So this is number 13. She's still pregnant. We're waiting for her to calf still. Oh, there she is. She's gonna come up for us. solitary caribou for you guys to see. Can you tell me a little bit about 13 and maybe some of her yeah, is she 13?
14.
14, sorry.
Yeah, so this will be her first calf. She's pregnant right now. She's one of the ones we're still waiting on. She was born in the pen, so again, that's really exciting. She'll be our third of the year to be a pen-born cow, having a calf in the pen. So she was in 17. She was last year. She was the kind of lone yearling here last year. And we're really excited to get her calf on the ground too and kind of have that come full circle here. Her mom is 7, correct?
Yes.
Sorry to put you on the spot like that. But yeah, sorry, not number 7. It's her mom.
It's hard to keep track of the family tree. Is there a good database where you do that, Sam, to keep track of all of them?
Currently, it's Post-it notes on the wall. It's tricky building family trees because you only know a handful of animals' actual lineage because we started with most of our cows being wild-born, so you just can't know who's related at that point. But yeah, at this point, we know that a couple of like the lineages, and my blind's gone completely blank. I usually know this, but an interesting fact is we have cow 2 who was brought in the first year of penning. Now has her daughter 11 in the pen, who has had a son, so she's a grandma. She has her daughter 17. And now she's also had a daughter again. So she has 3 daughters all in the pen with her and a grandson. So that's interesting.
That's pretty cool.
To be able to watch and see.
Yeah, see them grow that way.
We've got another one, that's number 8 that just showed up here.
Over here, is that number 8 there?
Yeah. So she's also pregnant, one of the ones that we're waiting for still.
So this, maybe in the next couple of days she'll calve if it gets any warmer here. It's just a waiting game.
It's a waiting game, that's right. This has been pretty typical for both of them is the last week, even week and a half, they're spending quite a bit of time on their own doing these solo laps, and they come up, they'll hang out for a little bit and they keep moving and can tell that they're uncomfortable and they're getting close.
And you mentioned they kind of disappear, so they go off by themselves to calve and sort of hide away in the brush.
Yeah, that's our big signal that something's happening is when they do finally isolate to that point, and it slowly increases. Like they'll start to isolate and it'll increase, they'll be gone for longer, they'll do these big laps of the pen on their own, and then at some point they just won't show up, and that's usually our pretty good sign that there's a calf out there somewhere.
I've got a question here. How can you tell which one is which? So that all of the females you can very faintly see around her neck there is a collar that it's got duct tape different colors on it. So we have a color code and a number that each animal is assigned. So we keep track of them that way and refer to them that way as well. I was watching the Toronto Zoo's live stream earlier today, and they've got 4 animals in their paddock there, and they've got names for all of them, which is quite cute, but because these are wild animals, we don't name them, we just refer to them by their number. The collars also have a GPS capability in them and a VHF radio frequency. So that's how we keep track of them in the wild. It's really helpful not only for when we go to capture them or when we do a census, but also for different management strategies. So in the Nakusp area, there's a couple of different snowmobile clubs that have an agreement with the province and the BC Snowmobile Federation. and it's aimed at minimizing disturbance to caribou. So because human disturbance is a big factor in the fragmentation of this herd, we track their collars and close certain polygons to recreation activity so that there's minimized disturbance to the caribou in their habitat. And another question here, how are you liking the new pen expansion? We haven't quite yet started expansion, so that's in the works. We've got some seed funding to start mapping and planning for that. So the pen right now is 6.6 hectares, and as the herd hopefully grows, we'll need to increase the size of the pen so that all of the animals have a good enough space within the pen to hang out. This pen at 6.5 hectares can house, I believe it's 14 animals is kind of the ideal size, about 14. So pen expansion will begin in fall 2025, hopefully to be ready for caribou next spring. How many calves so far this year? So far, out of the 8 cows that we discovered to be pregnant, there's 5 calves been born. We haven't assessed one of them because they were just born last night. So they'll assess about 24 hours after, so tomorrow morning or so. There are 3 males and 1 female other than that, within the 5. So everybody think good thoughts for more female calves. So we've only got this one number 8 hanging out in the feeding area right now. If there's any other questions from the audience, feel free to put them in the comment box. But yeah, this is the maternity pen. Another great place to get information is our social media and also our website. Our website's airlakescaribousociety.com, and there we have information too about how you can get involved. We do lots of volunteer lichen collection, so all of the lichen that's fed to the caribou in the maternity pen is collected by volunteers in the Columbia Basin area. We host group lichen picks, so if you watch out for that, we advertise for when we organize those group picks, probably starting pretty soon here, throughout the summer and winter. And last year we collected and dried and stored 300 kilograms of tree lichen, so what some people call witch's hair or old man's beard. It's arboreal lichen that caribou primarily eat in the wintertime in their habitat. So we feed that to them supplementally to pellet feed that they have here in the pen. And 300 kilograms was the most that we've ever collected. It was a lot of time and effort by many volunteers, which we appreciate. If you can kind of imagine a mesh soccer ball bag, one of those bags is about 4 kilograms, so stuffed full. So it's a lot of lichen. Beth asks, what do they have for water in the pen?
So we have a trough system set up that has continuous flow that is up here just outside of where you can see in the feeding area. So that runs throughout the whole penning project, and yeah, it's continuous. We also have a stream lower into the pen in the shaded trees that we supplement with another stream nearby. So that stream will run through the pen throughout the season as well. So they also spend a lot of time eating snow from the snow pile.
Nice. Another question, have there been any predators around the pen? Yeah, that's a good question. So as we mentioned, the pen fence is the big, it's black geotextile fence, and it's about 11 feet high, and there is a electric fence that runs around the perimeter of it to help prevent any predators from entering, and it's had good success this year. There have been a few bears that we've seen. Naturally, this is their habitat as well. We've been able to draw them away, and there hasn't been an issue with the fence. But yeah, they're pretty curious. We think mostly because of the pellet feed that we feed to the caribou. It might smell good to the bears, and in general, the cusp is definitely bear country, so we're always aware of that. As far as predators in their habitat, natural predators for caribou are grizzly bear and wolverine. We've also seen, as Aaron Reed mentioned earlier in the live stream, that cougars and wolves have become a predator of caribou due to habitat changes. So number 8 here is standing on our scale, which is fantastic, so we can get a weight on her. Ooh. See, they're quite skittish. We've got a little digital display next to the scale where we can record the weight. We kind of try to coax them onto the scale with some lichen on those branches nearby. Right. Final call for any other questions that are in the comment section. It looks like the caribou are choosing to hide today, unfortunately. Somewhere off out there in the maternity pen, like I mentioned, there's 5 calves running around. They're pretty cute to see. Oh, what weight are the calves? The first male calf born was 10.5 kilos, so that's a pretty big baby. They kind of average is 9 kilos,
Yeah,
something.
Our calves this year have been between 8 and 10.5 kilos at birth, or shortly after birth. We do think that the calves are bigger this year than previous years, which could be a testament to the cows being in better fitness when they get pregnant and through the early stages of their pregnancy. So that's exciting to know. The calves are usually 20 kilos, 30 kilos when they leave. Yeah, about 30 kilos by the time they leave.
By the time they're released from the pen.
Mm-hmm.
So growing from average about 9 kilos to about 20 or 30 kilos, it's a huge weight gain in 6 weeks or so.
Yes.
5 or 6 weeks.
Double in size.
Yeah. And do the calves, do they only nurse from their dams, or do they also eat like pellet and lichen?
Eating pellet, lichen, browse within the first week of birth.
Nice.
Yeah. Yeah, whatever mom eats, they eat.
Do you remember what the weight of the female calf was that was born this year?
She was 8.
8 kilos. Nice. So the female calf born so far this year was 8 kilos. Question, what kind of ecological role do caribous play? That's a good question, maybe for one of our biologists. If you want to go get one of them. So this is cow 8. For those of you just joining, we're just seeing her. She's hanging out here in the feeding area of the Central Selkirk Caribou Maternity Pen near Nikas, BC. We've got Aaron Reed back here. Aaron's the wildlife biologist for the Ministry of Waterland and Resource Stewardship. So the question was, what kind of ecological role do caribous play?
The ecological role. Well, I mean, Yeah, it's a great question. Caribou are, like we discussed earlier, if you were listening, they were the dominant animal, the dominant ungulate here in these mountains. So that means they were, when their populations were healthy and widespread, they were food for a whole bunch of other animals, wolverines, grizzly bears. They were all together in the food web, right? And that web would have been healthy and strong for thousands of years. So, the one thing that comes to mind is when we extirpate herds in the south, like the South Selkirks and Purcells, all of the predators of caribou will feel that impact, right, with them missing from the landscape. So there's probably hundreds of other interactions that my brain can't grasp. But when you remove a species like that from the ecosystem, there has to be countless or trade-offs and losses. That's one thing I can think of now.
So a large part of the purpose of recovery is just to maintain biodiversity and.
Absolutely, yeah, it's really hard to put existence value is something that we discussed in conservation biology classes in, say, university, and you can't put values on that. And that's a human construct, the existence value of a species, but they play a significant role in our ecosystems and maintain the biodiversity. As you said, that's perfect. That's the whole goal.
Great answer. Cow 8's still hanging out here with us at the maternity pen. I don't know if any others will come up, but she's munching on some deciduous branches there. All right, everyone. One last call for questions. Otherwise, we're going to wrap up our live stream. And thank you all for joining, and thanks all for the questions. That was a fun way to celebrate World Caribou Day. Happy World Caribou Day. And yeah, we'll save this live stream to our Instagram so you can go back and watch it again. See Cow 8 munching on her afternoon snack. Okay, thanks everyone. Bye.